One.
Hello, everybody. My name is Frances Peacock. I'm from Westminster College, and I'm on the Utah Advising Association Governing Board. I'd like to welcome you to week 2 of the 2021 UAA Advising Conference. I just want to remind you that links will go out next week for the 3rd week of the conference, and also stay tuned for recordings that will be posted on the UAA website. Today, I want to introduce Zach Olson from Dixie State. He's going to talk to us about going to college during a pandemic, a student's perspective. So now please join me and let's welcome Zach, and here we go.
Awesome. Thank you, Frances. It's great to be with you all here today, virtually. It's so different not seeing people. Used to Zoom where you can still see the participants that are not, but here we go. I'm so glad we're able to do this though, and thank you UAA for putting this on and still making this all work. Pretty awesome. Great presentations so far that we've heard from week 1 and the first part of today, so I'm excited to share what I found. So we're looking at a student perspective going to college during a pandemic. To get started here, let's just kind of go through what that entails and what we're going to go through. So here's the overview. We looked at 4 different kind of areas of a student's perspective that we wanted to focus on during a pandemic. Number 1, kind of emotional responses. How did they do mentally in the sense of like stress, motivation, resilience? Number 2, did they have support? Did they feel the support? Did they use the support that they had? I think that's a big one there. They were aware of it? Now, come on, student, use the support systems that you have here. Again, so we're looking at that kind of institution, advisors, faculty, looking at that support system there. Number 3, we're looking at the experience. So if you had to do this again, what would help next time around? Again, no more pandemic. Hopefully this is ending soon and that we won't do this again. But if you had to do this again, what would help next time? And then what were your thoughts with hybrid learning and remote learning? Like, did you like it? Did it work? What did the students think about it? So we have some interesting data there. And then the outcome. What ended up happening compared to other semesters? So was this all right compared to your other semesters that you've had? There's some that were freshmen that fall 2020 was their first semester, so we asked also, what did you think? Was it what you expected compared to high school a little bit? As well as we looked at grades. Did they feel their grades dropped, higher, the same? As well as did they come back to DSU? So kind of an overview. That's what we're going to cover today in my presentation. First though, we have to do a little reflection. So I think it's good to always, bring it back, reflect, introspection here, dive deep. So if you pull out a piece of paper and a pen, or if you're fancy and open up another tab with a Word document or a Google Doc, great if you'll follow along here. So we're going to reflect a little bit about how it's been for us as academic advisors to advise students in the last 3 semesters and how this has been. So we're going to take a minute here and do some reflection. Now, the answers you put down, there's one question I will want you to share later on in the presentation, but for the first ones that you see here, this is just for you. So do not feel like you need to share this in the chat. This is just for your own. Be as honest as you feel you can with yourself, or as you're wanting to be honest with yourself, how much. So here we go. Pondering questions. First question. What did you learn about yourself during the pandemic? So again, this is just for you. Don't share this in the chat. Let's just think, last 3 semesters, what did you learn about yourself during the pandemic? Just take a minute there. The next question, I have about 6 questions here. So they may come quick, but you could write them down or think, or maybe that's a short answer for you. But next question, how has your advising of students changed? Or has it stayed the same? Kind of interesting thought there. It's changed, but maybe it's just all through email now. I know for me, that was one thing. It's like, oh man, now emails have turned into like appointments where I'm spending 30 minutes throughout the day with one student emailing back and forth. And it's like, wow, I wish they would have just came in and we could have just solved that with a phone call or a Zoom meeting in like 5 minutes, but emails. Different platform, I guess. So how has your advising of students changed, or how has it stayed the same? All right, next question. What has surprised you about advising during a pandemic? Anything that surprised you? Because just like the students, we're looking at this perspective of a student today, but this is applied just as much as us as academic advisors, what we do. It was a big change for us. So what surprised you about advising during a pandemic? And video still working. I just like to add a little silence there. Not your internet's still working, I promise, or maybe. Next question, what has helped you to make it through and keep helping your students during the last 3 semesters? So what has helped you keep going? What's helped you keep being resilient? Hopefully keeping motivated. What has helped you make it through? Keep answering all those emails, phone calls from students. And taking on their stress. I know that was one thing too. It's like, wow, the pandemic definitely affected students, but it's also affected me and kind of dealing with their stress and leaving that at work. So we'll kind of interesting stuff there as well. Now, have you felt motivated, appreciated? What's your stress level like? So during the last 3 semesters, or if you're just began advising in the last year or last semesters, this still applies. How have you felt motivated? Has your motivation dropped at all during this pandemic? Have you felt appreciated? And by your students, have your students appreciated all the sacrifice and time that you've put in for them? Have your coworkers, your supervisors, your institution, have they expressed that appreciation, what you've done for them in lieu of the students and helping the students? And then what's your stress level like? Low, high, normal? How's that kind of went? Last question here. Now this is the question I want you to share, but I want you to share it later. So don't share it yet in the chat, but get ready to share this. I want you to have some time to think about it. One word to describe advising college students during a pandemic. So I want you to think, don't share it yet, but in the chat later on, we'll get a little ways down the presentation. I want you to share this one word. What one word would you use to describe advising college students during a pandemic? So I say this at the beginning because I want some amazing creative answers. So here in about 30 minutes, we're going to follow it back up, and I can't wait to hear what word you have chosen. Now remember, this is a presentation being recorded, so please make sure it's an appropriate word. I know some other words may come about when we're thinking of certain situations of the pandemic and advising college students, but remember, we want this a nice PG presentation here. So, all righty. So let's go on here. What is this whole presentation about? let's recap again a little bit. What did we find? We collected data from spring 2020, fall 2020, and spring 21. We had a total of 332 students fill out the survey. Most coming from the Department of Education. And we again looking at emotional responses, support, experience, and outcome. So here at DSU, I'm an academic advisor, and I'm in the College of Education, and I'm in the Department of Ed. So all those teachers, elementary, secondary. So that's kind of where this survey, this sample came from, using my students that I advise. So we had 332. The spring 21 survey is still out there and still being taken. So that number has went up a little bit, but I had to start getting this presentation ready, so I had to cap it off where it wasn't quite complete yet. First one, emotional responses. We're going to look at stress, resilience, and motivation. Some literature on stress first. New York University reported college students being more stressed out than ever before. Now, this study, as you can see, was before the pandemic. This was published back in 2010. However, I wanted to include it here because those that 10 years ago or 11 years ago, I know what day it is, we're in 2021, right? There we go. 2008, we had something, not a pandemic happen, but something pretty significant that caused a lot of stress, anxiety. We had a recession. That's right, in 2008, when that recession hit, full blast, a lot of jobs lost, a lot of uncertainty going on. So this study, as they're polling it, showed college students were more stressed out than ever before. Some similarities there with a pandemic and recession, different, but maybe there's some correlation here. So we're going to show what we found here with stress, as well as according to the National Association on College Admission Counseling, 80% of students reported feeling stressed sometimes or often. So we know stress is a part of college life, and it's built that way for a reason. Nowhere are we saying stress is bad, but we want it in a range. You know, if you're always super stressed the whole time, we need to fix that or see what's going on, see how we can help. But a little stress is good. Here's what we asked. How stressed did you feel on a daily basis during the semester? What are the causes of stress in your life? Then was this semester more stressful than last semester? So we took data from spring 2020, fall 2020, and spring 21. First question here. How stressed did you feel on a daily basis? This is what we found. On average, as you can see, it's spread out. We did a Likert scale of a 1 through 7. So 1 meaning not at all stressed, to a 7 all the way up to extremely stressful. With 4 right there being I'm moderately stressed. So as you can see, in spring 2020, when the pandemic hit, when we are going out to spring break and then we get told during spring break you're not coming back to work, you know, we're remote, all that stress and college and classes being moved online, students came in with an average of a 5 there. 31%, or not an average, but 31%, almost 32 there, saying out of 1 through 7 stress level, they're a 5, with number 6 coming in there at 22% as well, and then 4, 21. So kind of that 4, 5, 6, creeping up pretty close to that extremely stressful, but showing they were feeling some stress there. Next, fall 2020. How stressed did you feel during fall 2020? Looks like it went up. So we're showing 21% moderately stressed, with a 5 and 6 gaining there, 27% with another 27%, as well as 15% of the students that filled it out saying they are felt extremely stressful on a daily basis. So here they are kind of compared. You can see the increase, yes, number 5 dipped down a little bit there, but again, 6 and 7 went up tremendously there. How are we doing this semester? Spring 21. Some signs of improvement a little bit. Now, the extremely stressful level did go up 4% there, extremely stressed. So some causes concern, seeing, okay, what's going on there, and we're going to cover that here, what's some stresses. But the number 6 stress level there, down significantly, 27 to 16%. Again, 5 high with 30, but then 4 and then 3 making a come there, so coming up there. Kind of interesting to show where the stress is going, and hopefully kind of signs. Yes, there's still a lot of stress out there this past semester, but as I'm showing, maybe it's starting to come back to a normal level. So next question. Okay, we saw you're stressed, but what are the causes of stress in your life? What's going on right now? Here's what we asked. So students could select all that applies to them. We had study issues, financial issues, family issues, friend issues, issues with a significant other, loss of job or hours cut back, COVID-19, health concerns, or they could write in their own response. So if we didn't hit something that they felt was what they're feeling and what they're stressed about, they could do a write-in and we could still capture that of what's causing them stress. So just thinking for a minute, before I show you the results, thinking what one was the most stress. Here's what we show. In spring 2020, we have kind of 3 there that are pretty high in the 60 percentile there. We have study issues coming in at 65%. Pretty stressful there. With then financial issues 61, and then COVID-19 coming at 60%. With family issues 42, and then the other ones kind of drop there. Study issues, a big concern. I know when I've been meeting with students, even this past semester, and I'm gonna talk about all the data here, needing a place to study. And I remember that too in spring 2020. It's like they went home and there was no place where they could study or feel they could get away, or trapped in their room where I can't study in my room, I have to go somewhere else. There's so much stuff in my room. Interesting. And then as well as COVID-19, spring 2020 hit crazy. We were still trying to figure out what COVID is. There wasn't even really tests yet to test if you had it, like easily available, and still no vaccine at that time. Interesting to see though that health concerns, not as much, just 15%. Not worried about health yet from a student perspective. Now fall 2020 kind of turned up the heat there. 79% said what was causing them stress in fall 2020, study issues. Needing a place to study, finding the time to study, where to study, all that stuff. With COVID-19 coming in at 71%, again, this is before vaccines were available, still trying to figure out what's going on. Financial issues coming in at 66%. Then, kind of a big one here, I'll do my, I think, laser pin. Yeah, there we go. Hopefully you can see my laser pin there. Health concerns jumping up to 34%, more than doubling from this semester before. All of a sudden, I know it's not high like 50% or 60, but did make a jump where, okay, I'm kind of concerned about my health, and what's going on there and what's happening. Now again, kind of with what stress, we saw a little drop in spring 21, and same here, stressors. For spring 21, showing 69% still having some stress about where to study. Financial issues still 57%, but right here, COVID-19. Now that I believe that the vaccines are more available, more easily to get, we're dropping now down to like 43%. As well as we're kind of figuring out what COVID is, the numbers themselves of infections dropping, just some overall, I think, positive signs there. As well as I think one thing in fall that may have added to it, I don't know this for sure, but we were right in the middle of an election as well. So whenever there's a political election, I think that stress level jumps up a little bit as well. So kind of interesting, now that we're in spring, vaccines are more available, numbers are going down, we don't have other things going on politically in the world, maybe some things coming back to normal. So maybe a positive sign there. All right, now let's jump over to resilience. and motivation. What we mean kind of by resilience, I just like some of these definitions here as it's kind of just a good reminder for all of us. Resilience can be understood as one's ability to cope with adverse situations and bounce back stronger. Resilient students were characterized by high self-esteem, positive attitude towards school, and high motivation. Schools that have produced more resilient students had a supportive school community, a safe and orderly environment, and a positive teacher-student relationship. I just love summing that up. Bouncing back, we all have setbacks, we all have stress, but to jump back and keep going. And then to have a support system, a supportive school community, a safe, open environment, and then a positive relationship with your faculty, with your professors. That helps helps students be resilient. A study from Colorado University Advisement Center showed students felt low motivation or not motivated at all academically. This was posted on their website back in just I said a few months ago, but it was like, now it's like maybe like 8 months ago. But from 2020, kind of similar survey that I've put together there where they were looking at their motivation at Colorado University. And so they were showing that motivation was dropping with their students academically. So let's see what we found, if we found the similar things here. We asked, how has COVID-19 affected your motivation to learn and complete assignments? Spring 2020 motivation, 62% reporting they were less motivated to complete their assignments, to learn, to keep going in the class there. Motivation kind of dropping there, 62%. With 16% showing they were motivated, and then some 14% there not motivated at all. All right, so what does fall show us? Fall 2020 showing 58% less motivated, with 23%, so that jumped, that's good, that they were motivated. They were motivated to complete their assignments, to learn, to keep on going. Now, let's take a look at spring here. Spring 2021, see if we can keep that trend going of maybe a little more positivity. All right, so spring 2021, showing 42% were less motivated, with a humongous jump, at least I think it's humongous, 16% jump of students saying they were motivated to learn, to complete their assignments. Kind of interesting. Here they are all together. You can see them all at once here. Just the jumps from spring 2020, when we're just thrown into that pandemic, like I keep saying, I know, annoying, 62% less motivated. Fall 2020, 58, dropping that to 42% in this last semester, spring 21. So again, seeing some trends of maybe we're coming out of this kind of crazy life that we were in and getting back to normal maybe. So some good information there. Now, resiliency, more resilient student. As a student, do you feel you have become more resilient during the pandemic? We asked just what do you think? Do you feel you became more resilient? What has this done? 60% coming in saying they feel they have become more resilient. So that's great news. That is, again, I think I put those definitions at the beginning for a reason, showing I feel part of that's that they're feeling that support from the university, from their academic advisors, from their professors. So kind of good information there. But no way should we turn our heads of that 40% that maybe or no. So 22% saying, I don't know if I'm more resilient or not, then 17% saying no. So what can we do to look at that? Maybe a deeper dive into that kind of 40% there of what we can do to help them. All right. Sorry, the first one was kind of the fun, the emotional responses, kind of the great data of showing what students were doing with stress, motivation, resiliency. Now we're going to number 2 here, support, institution, advisors, and faculty. Some literature on support. In a study revealed that academic advisors are important for retention, progression, and graduation success. Can I get, well, duh, Zach? We all knew that. We're academic advisors. We could have told you that. You didn't need to find a study, right? We know we play a crucial part in students being successful, staying in college, making through, and graduating. But I thought it was good. Let's go find some research, see what's been done out there. This is from 2014, showing that an academic advisor can make a difference, does make a difference, can help students be more successful. As well as, I needed to look at faculty, professors, what's their key role in this? Faculty support towards students and interaction leads to benefits for students being successful in their studies. So between the two of us, our academic advisors and faculty professors, we are a big support system for these students, for our students, and making sure they see this through and get through this. All right, reflect again. Again, this is just for you. And we kind of covered this a little bit, in the beginning, 6 questions there, six questions or so. How have you supported your students? Again, just think for a minute. How have you supported them? Kind of covered this, but not exactly. What specific things have you done to support them? I know one of my colleagues, I share some students with them. They have this amazing email they send out. They put so much time and effort. It just baffles me. It's amazing. Of all the details coming up for their students, like go up, like some deadlines they need to know, checking in, just information that just helps tremendously. And it takes so much time, I know, to write that whole email, send it out, get it sent out to them. And like I said, I share some students with the secondary education program, and I know that makes such a big difference to have kind of that whole email. It's the start of semester or middle semester, and then like end semester, showing what's coming their way. I feel that's one of the ways to show that support, to help them. I know tons of students, we send emails all the time that they don't read, but I know there's students that do read the emails, and it makes a big difference in them being successful. So again, I hope you wrote down some items there. What have you done to support how you're supporting your students? All right, so what we looked at, we asked, have you felt support from DSU, from advisors, professors, and staff? What has helped you the most this semester in terms of learning, being in class, and then being successful? Then we also had a part in the survey, any shout outs? Was there any specific people they wanted to recognize? So yeah, this so-and-so advisors just helped me tremendously. This professor, one of the best, just was understanding and helped make it through. Here's what we found. Findings. Did you feel support from DSU? This is from spring 2020. 60%, oh no, wrong thing here. 80%, I can read numbers, I promise, at least on a good day. 80% said yes, they felt support from DSU. With 16% coming in there as maybe, mostly. A lot of that 16% too, they would add a comment next to it saying, all but one professor, or mostly, but some were not, or 3 out of the 4 professors, just kind of that stuff saying mostly, that they did feel support. With only 4% coming in saying they did not feel any support from DSU. Now, did this trend keep though? Did they keep most students feeling the support from DSU during this time? Let's see. Fall 2020, 79% feeling yes, they felt support from DSU. But again, 16% saying mostly, maybe, and then 5% saying no. I still like those percentages where majority, there was a lot, they were feeling support from the institution and what makes up that institution. Next, spring 21, this last semester just finishing up here. 83% saying yes, they felt support from DSU, with 15% saying maybe, mostly, with only 3 saying no. So again, I feel that's a great trend. Even I know it's a small percentage there, but trending in the right way again, we are showing that support. I know I just said showing like 5 times there, but helping students. So that's great to see, and great to see that trend. All right, spring 2020 support. What helped you the most this semester? Number one response from students, their professors. I know, I wanted to be advisors too. I think that we're there, but the most common response was their professors, helping them the most. But we came up in second. The next one was advisors, saying academic advisors. That was the second most one selected. What helped them the most this semester? Number three, a flexible schedule. There we go. We need to dig more into that. I don't know if it was like the Zoom options or when we moved everything online where they had more time to do things. We'll come back to that as well. Now, in spring 2020, it was interesting. There was more negative answers, even though I said, what helped you the most this semester? There's more negative answers to this question, though, where they didn't say, oh, this helped me. There's more negatives like saying, well, moving all my classes online, not coming back in person, no study room, no study, library closed. Kind of, it was more negative. I'm like, oh, I guess we had a lot of things to get off our chest that semester with students there, or they had to. Shout outs. Now, there was 57 specific shout outs from the survey in spring 2020. Number one was advisors. So yes, we got it. We had that by far, we had the most specific shout outs there. Next was professors, not by far. Professors were very close behind us with specific shout outs. And then number three, family. Then number four, online resources. So just shouting out thankful for the online resources that they had. Fall 2020, let's see how it compares there. So this is fall 2020. What helped you the most this semester? Number one, professors again. I wanted to say, gosh darn it, but it's good. I'm glad the professors are helping and they're recognizing it. Number two, advisors, we're still there. We're still strong. Yes. Number three, in-person classes. Now, I know for other institutions, fall 2020, you did not go back to in-person. Here at DSU, we did. We did this hybrid learning, which we're going to talk about here in a minute, where half the class came in person and then the other half of the class zoomed in. Hybrid learning. It was a lot of fun. So half the class is in person while the other half is virtual. So, but number three, what helped them the most was being able to be back in class. Number four, though, Zoom when sick. We use Zoom here at our institution, and they were able to Zoom and not miss the class when they were sick. 5, DSU library. The library was back open, back with options. Number 6, technology. And then number 7, peers. So those were the top 7, and in order, of what helped students the most in fall 2020. Now, shout outs again. Number 1 shout out, yes, advisors, we took it again, yes. Academic advisors got the most shout out for being helpful. Number 2 came in as professors. Again, so that's great, and it was very close again. Number 3, peer mentors. Number 4, parents. So that's nice, that's good. And in fall 2020, we had 91 specific shout outs where they named specific people saying, this person helped me out. Here we go. So kind of good to see that up as well as with advisors still doing great and leading the way there. Spring 21 support. What helped you the most this semester? Number 1, professors. Gosh darn it. Okay, I said it. The professors did lead the way with the most help for each semester for the last 3 semesters, but we're good team players. We're glad that the professors are helping. Again, number 2, academic advisors again. So we're still right there, still being recognized and helping, making the most for students there. 3, friends-classmates. 4, DSU support items like computers, library, etc. 5, DSU programs. So like the peer mentors, ambassadors. I didn't put student government. That was mentioned, and I was happy to see that. That's good. Number 6, being in class. Number 7, I don't know where this comes from, if there was something going on in the Department of Education about planners, but a planner was mentioned quite a few times, not to beat any of the 6 listed below, but not to get on the list. So a planner really helped students in 2021 in spring. Glad to hear that. Now, specific shout outs. We tied, and I say we as academic advisors with professors. We had about the same, we had the same number of shout outs between advisors and professors in spring 21. As well as family and friends, we had 73 specific mentions. Now again, spring 21, we're still gathering data, so that will probably go up a little bit, but that's where we're at right now. Next, number 3, the experience. What would help if you had to do this again? And then what did you think of hybrid learning and remote learning? Here are the top answers from all 3 semesters. I knew I'd be going long. I wanted to show the data more with those. So I combined this one. What would help you if you had to do this again with all kind of 3 semesters combined? So this is spring 2020, fall 2020, and spring 21. Number 1 response, all in-person classes. Number 2 response, more flexibility. And there was some more details, so I added this. More flexibility with their schedules, with their assignments, and kind of just academically with work as well, just the more flexibility. 3, more support from professors, which I find is interesting because we just listened to that professors, what helped them the most. But coming here, number 3, what would, if they could do this all again, what would help? More support from professors. So kind of interesting. Those just interesting data showing there. Reliable Wi-Fi, I can relate to that. When we had to work from home, it was like embarrassing because my Wi-Fi dropped all the time. So I couldn't wait to get back in the office and have reliable Wi-Fi. The students felt the same. More time and space to study, better assignments with direction and more time on assignments, more activities. And then my favorite one right here, it came up a few times. I just would not recommend doing it again. I think we can all relate to that, and I love that wittiness of the students that put that. I do agree with that. All right, so hybrid learning and remote learning. What did we find? So we asked, do you strongly like it, dislike it, neutral, like, or strongly like? So again, we used the Likert scale there of 5 points. What are your thoughts? So in spring 2020, when it was thrown on all of us, a lot of dislike, strongly dislike, and neutral feelings. So showing, sorry, I love using my laser pen here. Showing here, 32% disliked hybrid learning, where we moved it all online, where you're learning remotely, you're not in class. With number 1 here with 26%, and then 26% as neutral. Not getting any love in spring 2020 of liking it. However, fall 2020, look at this. Okay, students are becoming come around a little bit here. 37% neutral. I don't hate it. I don't like it. It is what it is. With 20% coming in now, rather than the 6 there saying they liked it. Kind of interesting. Some good information there. Then the strongly dislike and like definitely dropped. Now spring 21, where are we? Oh, and I love this. Look how nice this data looks. I love stats, and that's just a nice normal distribution there. It's just so pretty. I did not doctor it that way, I promise. Again, 31% saying neutral. Then we have this, 17% and 16%. I like it and strongly like it, rather than the dis and the dislike and then the strongly dislike. So showing some interesting data there. Really quite fascinating how the perception of online and remote learning has changed, and students are beginning to warm up to it. Now that hopefully we're coming out of the pandemic, but you know, at least they're getting used to it. I do feel there's something there. As I've spoken to students about, oh, what do you think of hybrid learning, remote learning? They're like, I love it when it's convenient for myself. Meaning, if I don't feel like going to school or in person today, oh, I'll just turn on Zoom and catch the class. I don't have to be there. So I know part of that like and strongly like or neutral is like, oh, well, it's benefited them in those ways. So kind of interesting feedback there. Last outcome. How was it compared to other semesters? Your grades, and are you coming back? Here we go. Findings from spring 2020. How would you rate this semester compared to others? Some good information there, some not as bad. 39% saying it was good, with 35 Sorry, I can read numbers. We already went over this. 35% saying fair. Interesting. How do you feel your grades will compare to other semesters? And again, this is from just spring 2020. We're just doing spring 2020 here. 61% saying the same, with 26% saying lower. Are you planning on coming back for fall 2020? Now, again, taken in spring 2020, 65% saying yes, 8% saying no, with 27% saying they graduated. So we didn't want that to count as like a no, because we want, oh, but why? So some interesting data there. For fall 2020, again, some kind of good data here, showing 38% saying it was a good semester, with 34 saying it was fair. Now we did have that 11% as poor, and then 7% coming in as very poor. So, but overall, a good and a fair semester. We'll take it. How do you feel your grades will be compared from other semesters? I know that's a yellow and it's kind of bright, can't maybe not see that. It's 55% saying the same, 30% saying lower. So that went up 4% there from spring 2020. Then are you coming back? 93% saying they are coming back for fall. Yes, with 3% graduating and then 5% no. Spring 21. Again, 44% saying it was a good semester, with 31 saying fair, with 17 coming in with excellent semester. Yes, when compared to others. But here's kind of a little trend looking here. How do you feel your grades will be? 50% the same, but 35% lower. So if you were tracking that, if we go back from spring 2020, it was at 26% lower. Fall 2020, 30%. Now with spring 21, 35% lower. So kind of a backwards trend there where everything's been kind of getting better. We're kind of seeing stress, motivation, things are improving, but maybe not great. It's kind of interesting to see that. And 63% coming back. All right, now is your time. Put in the chat your best one word describing advising during a pandemic. How advising college students during a pandemic, one word. So go ahead and put that in the chat if you're willing to. I'm excited to see what you have. I hope everyone can kind of see what's in the chat. Now we asked this to our college students here. How would you describe going to college during a pandemic? So as you're putting in your responses here, the one words, go ahead and do that. Here's what the student said. Kind of interesting. Now, the bigger the word was, the more times the word came up, as you probably know. Annoying. Number one word there, annoying. Students came in and said, what did you think? It was annoying. Number two word kind of in there, hard. 3, online learning. 4, no social life. Again, that's 3 words, just so you know. That is 3 words I can count as well, but I thought that was very applicable, and students kept saying that one. That was definitely a common theme there. So no social life. Kind of interesting. As well as, I hope they know that's more than one word. All right, then other responses: frustrating, masked, crazy, weird, adjustment, adaptable, dull, crappy, sucks, hectic, boring, successful, doable. I do like that one. Doable. I was glad to see that one come in. It wasn't as big as you can see as other ones, but was still mentioned there. Doable. So that was cool. Zoom. Again, we use Zoom a lot here. So Zoom. Unpredictable, horrible. So that's kind of what the students showed there. Kind of interesting information there. All right. Oh, I like some of the responses. I hope you all can see it as well. Some great stuff there. Oh, and perfect. Spring, awesome. Some great responses there. Roller coaster, that's perfect. Enlightening. My word that I have there, I put educational. I know, yeah. Great, thanks for doing that. That is awesome. To finish up here, Limitations to the study, small sample size. Again, we only had 332 combined with all 3 semesters. The sample size consisted mostly of just education students. So we know that doesn't represent the whole demographic there by any means. As well as what I presented today was only descriptive statistics. So I really wanted more analytics there and diving deep and some analysis, but I ran out of time myself, so just more descriptive there. What are we looking at in the future? I'd love to look at how set up a similar survey and document how it was as academic advisors to advise during this time. So kind of what we thought, what was going on, what was our stress level, workload like, what was our support? Did we feel supported? From who? And kind of just look at that. So that'd be awesome to do that, as well as look at resiliency compared with how we can just make more, help more students become more resilient, and what that looks like, you know, and where does academic advisors fall into that? So I think those are like the new, what I'm looking at for future studies, as well as I hope to continue this study the next 2 semesters to kind of have an overall 5-semester kind of data log and show the trends and show here in a year when we're doing spring 2022, sorry, I can do years too, 2022, what trends are still going on? And is COVID still an issue? Is that still a thought? What's kind of happening there? So thank you for coming to my presentation and dealing with my super annoying voice and my hand actions, you know. Any questions? So feel free to ask any questions in the chat if you have any questions. Here is my email address. You're welcome to take this down and email me if you have any questions or any concerns. As you're thinking of any questions, here's also my references that I have that I use. So I did not just make it up, I promise. That I did research, did find some things, some really great references here. So any questions? I like that flexibility, perfect. Consuming, sorry, I'm now looking at the words because I have a second to look at all the one words to describe. That's amazing. Great job, everybody. Okay, see if any questions come in. Here we go. What would you do differently as an advisor looking back? Oh, that's a great question. Oh, looking back, I know for me personally, to take time and kind of that self-awareness, knowing that this would not last forever, and to still be in that moment. I know it felt like, for me, I have a lot of anxiety myself and jumping all over and on to the next thing. So looking back, I just make sure to take that time to be just in that moment and know that it won't last forever. I know that's kind of maybe not applying to that, but that's my answer to that question. Thanks for the question. That's awesome. Yes. What are you going to change the name to? Yes. So those that don't know, here at DSU, we are going through an identity crisis. We are changing our name. I do not know the name. I've submitted many changes to the President Williams and his cabinet. So far, they've all been shot down. So I honestly don't know. My name, I thought it should be Delta Strike Force University, just to kind of keep with the DSU and keep what we're looking at. But you know, I don't know what our name is. We hopefully know what our name will be here in a couple months. I know they're acting on that soon. Great question. All right, another. I was wondering if students feel their grades will be lower because they're coming out of survival mode. That is a great one, Rachel. That definitely could be part of it, where those high intense moments where you're so intense, so focused, and then once things start to calm down, things begin to slip a little bit, right? You've been operating at such a high stress level, such an intense level, that you eventually have to come down from that. You can't just continue to operate at that. Rachel, I don't know that for sure, but I think so. I really do. Thanks, Rachel. And then who is your best Disney character? Nice. Okay. Disney character. I'll choose any Disney character from Zootopia. That's like my favorite show. So Zootopia. Oh, yes. And then Baby Yoda University. There's our new name for DSU, Baby Yoda University. I think that would increase enrollment tremendously. All righty. Well, thank you all for coming. Thank you, UAA, for having me as well. Anything else? Francis, are we good?
Yep, it looks like we're good.
Okay, thank you, Francis, for being here with me as well. I appreciate you being part of this.
Yeah, thank you, Zach. I really enjoyed your presentation.
Well, thank you.